How many atheists could say they understood God properly before having rejected Him? Question. How many atheists could say they understood God properly before having rejected Him? I say rejected to discount all the cases who haven't thought about God at all. Children, jungle men, and last but not least the mere recognizers of a lack, sincere or not, of belief in Him. Answer. Your question is extremely misleading. You are capitalizing the word God, so I assume you are referring to the Christian version, aka YHWH, Allah, Eno, Jehovah, etc. in the other Abrahamic faiths. First, not all atheists come from a Christian background. Some started off as Muslims, Jews, Dermits, Wiccans, Buddhists, African tribal, Aboriginal, etc. As there are over 4,000 named gods, can you state that you have understood each one properly before rejecting Him? Nelth the Great, the creator of all that is seen and unseen, known and unknown, and the father of all other gods, is currently vacationing in my closet. Nelth is a kind and gentle God who requires no daily worshipping or knee bending, is not jealous of other gods, is too lazy to answer prayers, and only requires that you acknowledge Him as the supreme God of gods. If you do so, you shall be rewarded with an eternity of freshly baked cookies, supplied by His angels the Keeblers, and cold milk for dunking. All lactose intolerance will disappear, so fear not. Reject this truth, and you shall spend eternity eating stale, store-brand cookies, with no milk. This is where the saying, gnashing of teeth, originated. Now do you feel that you understand Melth enough to reject Him? There is so much more I could make you amen tell you about Him. Can you reject Obatala, the African purity god, who was charged with creating the world by his father, but he was passed out drunk? Prior to becoming the god of purity, he was a party animal, so his younger and more sober brother stepped up and took the glory. Daddy was mad and punished Obatala and forced him to create the creatures that inhabit the world, including man. Obatala also appears in Latin American religions, so hey, a god of two continents and different cultures. Why must an atheist properly understand the mythical being in order to state that there is no evidence to support a belief in any of them? Now, I can tell you what my background in religious studies is. I can discuss my over 40 years of researching the various religions that both exist today and cease to exist. I can list the number of religious scriptures I have read and the various religious ceremonies I have attended. I am not alone in this. On Quora there are many like me, and many who have even more depth of knowledge about many gods and many religions. I do this because I have a passion for learning and for history. Religions evolved right alongside of art, music, laws, etc. as our species developed and become more civilized and group-based. Religion isn't linked with our earliest ancestors, even if the names of the gods have been lost history, if they even had names. It is not necessary for a person to understand God properly to say sorry, but I do not believe this God exists. It is the theists who must understand their gods properly, and yet very few do. There is even a common reasoning among all the different faiths for not being able to understand the gods properly. Our God is an infinite being with an infinite mind. He is not a physical being but a spiritual being that can take physical form whenever he desires. He precedes time and space and has no creator. His ways are a mystery to us mortal men with our finite minds. It is like an ant trying to understand the ways of a human. When we are reunited with our God, all will be made clear. Until then, our God is all-powerful, all-knowing, always present, super-duper nice and understanding, extremely forgiving, if you take the proper approach, and does not want us to worry about such issues. Have faith that he/she/it knows and is acting according to the plans he/she/it has made. It may be worded differently, but this covers a theist that doesn't fully understand the history of their God or why she happens despite the multitude of prayers asking for it not to happen. The God you worship is determined primarily by three things: the God of your parents/community, the time in which you were born, the geographical location in which you were born. So, can you say you properly understand all the gods you do not believe in? See the difference between an atheist and an atheist is very small. We both do not believe in gods. You just make an exception for your gods, and get pissed that we do not. We both reject the majority of the absolute truths that religions claim to provide for exactly the same reasons. You just make an exception for yours, and get pissed off that we do not. We both accept that the predominance of religious stories have no proof, and many are actually contradictory to known facts, and often refer to these stories as myths. You just make an exception for your stories, and get pissed off that we do not. See the trend? Yes, I understand your God. I was raised in the Christian faith, and everyone else in my family as Jew-paying members. Your God is an ever-changing entity, which is amazing because the scripture says your God does not change because a perfect being need not change. That travels the range of war God, Eno, to stern Father, YHWY, to forgiving Creator who only wants us to love Him as much as He loves us, God, to war God. Sorry to my Islamic friends, but Allah is a God of war despite the propaganda, but this does not make Him any less than the other versions. Within the Christian faith, there are multiple versions of God. The Amish version is vastly different from the Catholic version, which is vastly different from the Baptist version, which is vastly different from the Mormon version, which is, well, you get the point. A fundamentalist/extremist has a different version of God than the average Christian. Same goes for other faiths. The fundamental extremist Muslim worships a different version of Allah than the average Muslim, for example. How much do you understand about your God? How many questions could you get right about the details of your faith and the history of God? Or do you simply make exceptions for your God and then get pissed at the atheist because we do not?